Happy hump day, everybody. It's Wednesday. I'm saying happy hump day to you guys because I don't have a hump day. I've tried to describe this, but I'll do it again. No Mondays, no Fridays, no hump days because I do this every single day. But to those of you who do pull the 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job, hey, it is hump day halfway to the weekend. So that's something to celebrate right there. College football is moving a lot faster than what I thought. We've been talking about the possibility of the SEC and the Big Ten splitting off from the NCAA, doing their own thing, their own national championship, their own playoffs. It might be happening a lot sooner rather than later. We're going to talk about that tonight. Real quick, though, if you haven't, and I do this every video, so I'm not singling anybody out, but if you haven't, please hit the thumbs up button. That's not even saying that you like this video or that you like Golden Bluetooth, nothing like that. It just helps the video grow. The more likes the video has, the more it's going to hit the YouTube algorithm. It's going to be suggested more. More people see it. More people click on it. And that's how you grow your audience. And there's this new thing that I thought about. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this, but YouTube has created the super thanks button for regular videos, not for live shows. You have the super chat for that. But for regular videos, there's a thing called a super thanks. And I'm thinking, so people just going to hit super thanks and donate to the channel? I think I can sweeten that up. So if you watch a regular video and you decide to donate to the channel through super thanks, those comments with the super thanks, I'm actually going to address in a video. I'll put it on the screen. And we'll talk about it for a second. So I think that's the best way to utilize that new super thanks because I can't think of anything else that would, make anybody even want to hit that. So, yeah, if you hit the super thanks button on the regular videos, anything you put in that particular comment, we'll put on a video. And we'll put it on a live show as well and address it. So there we go. As for this video, if you have a particular question, comment, you want to make fun of me, that's fine too. Best way to do that, best way to get my attention is the super chat button. That is that little dollar sign that you see on your bottom right hand corner below the chat. Anything you put in that super chat goes on the screen. If it's a question, I read the question and answer it to the best of my ability. If it's a comment, I read the comment and address it. And of course, if it's a troll, I'll read the troll because that's how much we appreciate you donating to Golden Bluetooth. And don't forget about the Patreon page. Now is the best time to do it because the score prediction contest is a coming. Guaranteed $20 winner every single week. And the higher the Patreon you are, the more guesses you get per week. So, and it's not a one and done. You can win as many times as you want. All right. College football, and you know what? I did forget to share the StreamYard link, guys. I knew it was going to happen. Give me 1 second here while I remember to do that. Always love having anybody that wants to come on as a guest. It's basically a call-in show without, actually using your phone. It's more like over the internet. And if you don't want to be on camera, that's cool too. Just turn your camera off. It's cool. We can handle that. Now let me make sure I don't get the wrong keys here. I think we're good. All right, time to double check here. Let's see. All right, there it is. If that does not work, y'all let me know, and I will make sure to correct that. So there is the link to join the channel. Anybody can join and come on and talk with Golden Bluetooth. But what I want to talk about today is I mentioned it earlier in the live show. It seems inevitable that the SEC and the Big Ten are going to break off from the NCAA, create their own, rules, not just playoffs and national championship, their own rules, their own way to govern this NIL thing. The NIL is what's causing everything. All the conference realignment, all the expansion talk, all the, we're splitting off from the NCAA, all that is being generated by the NIL talk. That's what's generating all this. You have a little bit of feedback there, Joey.
I do. Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit. There you go. But what I was saying is, and we all had the feeling that they were going to split in the future, but now that may be being sped up. And I don't think this is a good thing, guys. I really don't. And I can understand the fan bases. Oh, we're good. We're fine. We'll be part of the Big Ten. We'll be part of the SEC. We're fine. We'll compete. Yeah, but think of it like this. The product that's going to be out there after all this happens is going to be closer to the NFL than actual college football. I understand you're happy that your team is safe, and I'm happy for you, and I would probably be happy too if West Virginia were to get in. But I like college football for a reason. It's different from pro sports. It has its own unique, taste to it. It's an acquired taste. Most college football fans don't follow the NFL as closely. There's some that follow both the same amount. And most NFL fans don't follow college football as closely. It's a completely different product out there. Well, when this happens, it's going to be very, very similar because all these teams in the Big Ten and the SEC are going to be making a bunch of money. So they'll be getting all the big talent. So you're going to have basically NFL rosters just before they get to the NFL. It's going to be like a minor league type of situation. So let me get to this before I get to my guests. These are tweets by Pete the Mail. I think it's Sports Illustrated. And he's a pretty good source on all this stuff. Now, he talked about playoff expansion too. So we'll get to that first. Says, also in this story from Monday's call, the College Football Board of Managers hasn't shut the door on expanding the college football playoff before 2026. Remember, they all voted. They all couldn't come together. They couldn't agree on this. Well, according to Pete, good old Pete, that's not the case. They haven't closed the door on that. Still possible. The presidents discussed how much money was left on the table by playing out final four seasons of deal as currently constructed. So they're looking at the current format and trying to figure out if they're losing money and how much, if they are. All right, moving past that, though, the big thing that I want to talk about, SEC Big Ten, thinking about break it off. So here was another tweet by Pete the Mail. Sources, the presidents and chancellors who make up the College Football Playoff's Board of Managers held a brief discussion on Monday about major college football operating under a governance structure outside of the NCAA. Now, there's a little. If you listen carefully, there's a little bit of hope in there. He didn't single out the Big Ten and the SEC only breaking off from the NCAA. So, is there a possibility that all the Group of Five conferences break off from the NCAA and do their own thing, and then the Group of Five have their own national championship and playoffs? Or is it going to be the SEC and the Big Ten? What do y'all think?
Well, I definitely don't want the SEC and the Big Ten to go alone. I think that someone from the NCAA needs to take a stand. Like, we need someone that actually knows what they're doing in the NCAA.
Agreed. However, I do think it's a little bit too late for the NCAA. I think it's a little bit too late. Honestly, I think this is what needs to happen as long as everybody's included. As long as there's a set of rules that makes it as – I know it's not going to be completely fair because some teams do have more advantages. It is what it is. It always has been, and it always will be. But have some rules and regulations that make it as fair as possible. That's what I'm for. If you're going to split off, I'm actually for that because the NCAA does nothing. I mean, really, if you look into the NCAA, the only thing they're good at is investigating and handing down punishment. That's it. I mean, a great example of that was whenever COVID hit. What happened? NCAA didn't know what to do. We'll leave it up to the conferences. What happened? The ACC and the Big 12 started – well, no, the ACC, Big 12, and SEC started the earliest. Then came the Big Ten, and then came the Pac-12. And at one point, it was rumored that the Pac-12 and the Big Ten were talking about doing it in the spring and having their own national championship for the Rose Bowl. It was crazy. Why? Because the NCAA doesn't know what they're doing. And quite honestly, they have lost all their power. They have no power.
I was really hoping that someone like an Oliver Luck or someone would go into the NCAA and try to straighten it up. But it's looking less and less likely that there's going to be anybody step up to the plate with the NCAA. So
Oh yeah,
it may
I would
very
agree
well
with that.
just
And
go away, and
go ahead, Joey.
it might just be for the better. I mean, to go away. So,
Yeah, I would
but
agree with that.
it might be the thing about it is it'd be better for the Power Five. It would be okay for the Group of Five, but then when you get down to the FCS level or down, those programs would fall apart without the basketball money from the NCAA. So,
Yeah.
it would hurt a lot of programs. It would destroy a lot of programs.
I agree. And Will, this is especially important for Notre Dame
Mhm.
because of the wording. So if it is only the Big Ten and the SEC that splits off and they say, hey, we're holding our own playoffs national championship, and if you're not a member of the Big Ten or the SEC, you're not getting in, then that kind of forces Notre Dame into joining either the Big Ten or the SEC because Notre Dame wants to compete at that high level, get to that playoffs, and try to win that national championship. But if we go by what Pete said, he didn't specify the SEC and the Big Ten. And if all the Power Five conferences are involved, then Notre Dame is good to go, staying independent. So
Yeah.
this is hope for Notre Dame as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll be okay, but like it just worries me a little bit. But I think with this, we got a new media deal with going on where we're gonna be playing Michigan, Michigan State, and Purdue. So I'm excited about that. Definitely excited about that.
Oh yeah, those are some big, big,
Mhm.
big time rivalries. Purdue's a
Mhm.
big one, but I would say out of all those, Michigan, there's a
Yeah.
lot of history and hatred behind that.
Mhm.
I'm surprised that you guys even play, but I guess there's so much water under the bridge as far as when it actually happened.
Mhm.
Up until now, they finally gotten over themselves, and you guys play. And to be fair, it wasn't on Notre Dame; it was Michigan that
Yeah.
was mad that y'all whooped them, embarrassed them basically, and they decided not to play. What was it, 33 years, 30 years, something like that?
Mhm.
Yeah. So big time rivalry. That's going to be fun to watch. Um, how is that going to affect the ACC slate?
I mean, I think I think we're still gonna be playing this ACC team. So I think as long as we get the ACC games in and the Big Ten in, the ACC, and we can add in those Big Ten games, I think the ACC will be happy as long as they get that TV money from our games.
So if I had to guess, if they are doing that, then you would they're still playing USC, Stanford, and Navy every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just some of the other Big Ten teams that they play from time to time, probably they won't get to play
Yeah,
as
and
much, if at all.
yeah, and much less cupcakes. Much less
Right.
cupcakes. I don't think we'll be playing any Group of Five or FCS teams once this kicks in.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on, Tim?
Not much. Just got home a little while ago.
I hear you.
Relaxing.
I hear
First
you.
week of school. Yeah.
First week of school. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I don't know.
I'm on third week.
Going. Oh, really? Your third week, kids? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm glad I don't teach in your district. That's too early.
Well, the crazy thing is, this one county in the entire state of South Carolina started on August 2nd. Everybody else started on August 16th. Every other county in the state, I'm like, what? Why? I think they looked up, where does this golden blue dude live? Let's mess with him a little bit. That's what happened. I'm convinced of that. Somebody up there doesn't like me.
I heard the Golden Blue dude. I heard you say that the NCAA is good at investigating and handing out punishments. And I will tell you, as a USC fan, I could say nothing is farther from the truth. They've been feckless. I mean, look at what schools like North Carolina, Miami, and they've done some pretty egregious stuff, and nothing happened. So the NCAA is dead. It's gonna hopefully go to where it's going to basically be the larger conferences are going to have their own, I guess, I don't know, board of trustees kind of thing. I don't know, lack of a better word. I'm hoping that TVs are kept out of that crap. I don't know. And then as far as getting really close to the NFL, I think they're not stupid enough because, again, if they try to be a minor league for the NFL and lose all the magic they have as being like, collegial and colleges, they're going to lose their fan base. So I think they're smart enough, especially with the Big 10. You know, the Big 10 is very big on academics. And I think it was Tony that explained it. The reason why the ACC and the Big 12 and the SEC jumped on football right away is because a number of the universities, their number one source of income is, guess what? Football.
Yep.
Whereas opposed to other programs in the Big 10 and the Pac-12, you're talking about Stanford, Washington, Michigan. These guys, these are really huge academic, schools where all their money comes. I mean, their football money, even in the Big 10, dwarfs what they make academically. So that was a push for some of these other schools and other conferences to get kickstarted. I'm hoping that the Big 10 has enough clout later on. I'm sure they'll be going up against the SEC, and the fact that they want to keep this thing a college sport and not a minor league. Because if it goes to a minor league, I'll tell you, I mean, as much as I love college football, if you want to watch the, really football at the highest level, you're going to watch the NFL. All you got to do is look at the cornerbacks from college to pro to tell which one's playing better ball, and it's just night and day. So I think if they try to go the route where they want to be NFL junior, you're really going to see everyone fall off the table, and it might become it'll still probably stay hot in places where there aren't NFL teams. But I'll tell you, like in Los Angeles, if you had a choice between watching minor league UCLA, USC, and then watching the Chargers and the Rams, or over in Vegas, Raiders, I mean, I'm sure it could be easy loss for those fans. So,
and we already got the USFL and XFL for minor league football. We don't need more minor league football.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and a lot of these fan bases I'm hearing, oh, you're just mad, Golden Blue, because your team's going to get left out. No, I'm not happy about that if we do get left out. But what I'm saying is, those fans that are saying that, I'm trying to warn them, you're not going to love college football the way that you love it now if this happens. There's a reason why you love college football over the NFL. Now, there's some people that love it equally, but it's few and far between. Usually it's somebody loves one over the other, and there's a reason. Well, if there's no difference, then you lose that love. It's like, what's the point? I'm basically watching the NFL, so let's just watch the NFL. We're just looking at college logos instead of NFL logos. That's the only difference.
Yeah,
I just think it doesn't make sense for television revenue to leave out pretty much the whole Midwest. If you do something like this, if they just say, okay, SEC, Big 10, and the Big 12 and Pac-12 and the ACC stay the same, nothing else changes, or even if a few other teams leave those conferences, you're going to leave out a whole bunch of fan base if they just go with an SEC Big 10 championship run. That I don't see that happening. There's too many fans in between Kansas and West Virginia and North Carolina. Those teams, NC State. There's too many fan bases that are huge that there's no way that they would leave all those teams out. I wouldn't think.
I'm with
hold on. Zona Tucson 93 says, I'm here to make an announcement. WU is scared of Marshall. We're 12-0. The reason we don't schedule Marshall is there's nothing to play for. We're supposed to beat Marshall. We do beat Marshall. There's nothing to play for. There's no money in it for us. We're undefeated. No, we're not scared.
Yeah, I'd echo what Joey said as far as follow the money. I mean, because let's stop pretending. That's what's driving everything.
Right.
There's just too much money to be made across the country if you want to cut out all those great fan bases that don't happen to be in the Big 10 or the SEC. There's a lot. They'd be leaving too much money on the table. So that's the one solace I have. They're not going to screw it up too badly. But Remick Johnson brought a good point. As soon as we went to the playoffs, you have ESPN saying, basically trumpeting, well, if it's not the playoffs, it doesn't matter. The playoffs are all that matter. The playoffs. Yep. That's all they kept saying. As soon as they started demeaning the bowls, making them, not worthwhile, cutting out a big portion, think about it. What percentage of fan bases that are really thinking logically?
Not a lot.
Are thinking. Well, that's that right there. But are thinking even in August, the hype moment of everyone's optimism. How many programs out there really think that they're going to win the playoffs? Even among the most rabid, optimistic fans, how many actually think they're going to win the playoffs? And then when you have ESPN telling everybody, well, it's all about the playoffs. If you don't win a playoff in the championship, it's really well, your season was a bust. And when they started doing that narrative, is really college football took a big hit.
I would agree with that because I mean my team, West Virginia, that I give us a 0% chance of winning the national championship, and we just got JT Daniels, who's a pretty good quarterback. I think we'll have a better season, maybe, possibly compete for the Big 12 championship. We're not even getting to the playoffs. There's no shot of winning a national championship. So if you go by that narrative, then you're eliminating, I would say more than 3/4 of college football.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it.
What we need to do to bring back the bowls to make them great again? We gotta play the bowl games, then do the rankings, and then do the playoff. We gotta do the playoff after the bowls.
It's not bad.
It's a great idea.
What about the idea of qualifying for the playoffs through a bowl? You think that would be doable?
I think that'd be great. I think if all the bowls were just play-ins for
that would be great too. Yeah.
Not necessarily play-ins because the lower bowls are trash sometimes. But like anybody,
I'm not talking about that.
I guess the scenario would be you'd have to finish at least 1 or 2 in your conference. Then you go to your bowl, and if you win your bowl, you qualify for the playoffs, and then you get seeded according to your record.
The only thing is that might create too many games. That might create too many games. You could say
the only thing you're creating is the playoffs because the bowls are the same. You're not creating more bowls. The conference championships are still the same. So, I mean, if you're going to expand the playoffs, that's already going to happen. So you're really not adding any games. You're just adding stipulations.
Well, I mean, how many years? I'd love to...
Go ahead, Tim.
No, go ahead. Sorry, Joey.
I'm just wondering, you have so many bowls. If you say, okay, let's take these 10 bowls, and those are the 10 bowls that when they play them, the winners advance to a playoff system or something, however you talk about doing it. That's going to be a game, and then you'd have 2 more games. So it'd be the same as a 12-team playoff or a 16-day playoff. It would be the same.
Right, exactly. You just turn bowls into. Honestly, I think that would add value to those upper tier bowls because you're playing to win the bowl, but then you're also playing for a shot at a national championship. I mean, being a Peach Bowl champion when it's not a playoff game, that's fine and dandy and great. But being a Peach Bowl champion and now you have a shot to win the national championship because you're in the playoffs, I mean,
it's big.
Just my opinion, that bumps up the value of the bowl.
I'm having some trouble. I'm going to have to go out and come back in because I'm having some trouble.
Go ahead, Joe. You're good.
To go out and I'll come back out.
Yeah, that's fine. Anybody in the comment section, if you haven't hit the like button, please do so. That's not even saying that you like the video or you're like me. It just helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm. Whenever that happens, the video gets suggested more people see it, more people click on it, and that's how you grow your audience. And I can tell people have been hitting the like button because the audience is growing. So I thank you. Those of you that have already hit the like button and those of you that haven't, I would greatly appreciate it if you did hit the like button. And if you have a question for me, Joey, Will, Tim, and whoever comes on the show or a comment or you want to make fun of one of us, I know Tim is a lightning rod for trolls. He can handle it. Best way to get our attention is the super chat. That is that little $sign you see at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right under the comments. Anything you put in that super chat gets thrown on the screen and gets read, and it supports the channel, and we appreciate it. So yeah, before Joey went off there, I do think that's a great idea. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back for thinking of that. I just think it would be another layer that you're adding to the bowls without creating more games. People are trying to think of things to, maybe allow more teams to have a shot at a national championship without creating more games. It almost sounds impossible. But if you do that, even if you don't expand the play, think about this. Even if you don't expand the playoffs at all, they stay as is. 4 teams, 2 games, and then the national championship. 4 teams get in, right? Well, if you take 4 bowls, the 4 top bowls, and say winner gets in, isn't that technically expanding the playoffs to 8?
Yeah.
But you would be removing the traditions of the bowls if you probably did that. If you're
That's
seeding
already
the
happened,
bowls.
though.
No, well, in a way it has, but again, we're stepping farther and farther away from what we used to do. I remember, some of us are old enough to remember where we were all clamoring for a +1. It's like,
Yeah.
let's wait till the bowl season's all over, and then you vote on the best 2, and then those 2 would play.
Right.
And I mean,
Yeah, that's what I like.
I would be interested in, because that would have been the best way to keep the tradition of college football together completely. But again, what's leading this thing? What has been? It's been money, and a playoff makes a hell of a lot more money than what I just described. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it goes. Not just college football; it's just the world in general. It's all about money, and
I agree with
it's ruined
that.
baseball. It's ruined basketball, in my opinion. It's ruined a lot of sports, but it's just evolution of things, right?
Yeah, and I agree with what you said. The playoffs are here, so whenever I make these suggestions, I'm working with what we have. You know, I know the playoffs are here. They're probably going to get expanded, but if people are like, there has to be a way to not expand the playoffs, that's going to add more games. There you go. Take the 4 highest bowls, and it raises the importance of those bowls, because not only are you playing to win the bowl and be the, Peach Bowl, Cotton Bowl, whatever champion, now you're playing to get into the playoffs, and you're not adding, well, I guess technically you are adding 1 extra game, because they'll have to play the bowl to get into the playoffs. But besides that, I mean, that's all you're adding. You're not adding a bunch of games. You're not adding a bunch of stipulations too. Like, whenever they expand the playoffs, there's going to be a lot of added, stipulations, like seeds 5 through 8 get a home playoff game. Some teams might get a bye, blah, 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 which I am for home playoff games. That would be amazing. But if you want to avoid all that, then I think, bowl champions qualifying for the playoffs is the way to go.
Well, I mean, one thing that really bothers me is how everybody wants to diminish the conference champions, because they're in a conference. They want to put 2, if you're in the Big Ten or the SEC, and again, before someone calls me a homer, USC is going to be in the Big Ten really soon. And I think in most years, if there's a 12-team playoff, if USC finishes 2nd or 3rd every couple of years, they're going to get good enough to get in the playoffs. So it would benefit my school. But I'm saying I just don't see it. I don't think that runner-up in a conference should be in the playoff. Win your conference, you go to the playoff. The issue I have is then you have your extended playoff, because your conference championships are the first round of the playoffs. And I don't know why people want to get greedy. Usually it's because, I mean, if I was in the SEC, I'd want multiple teams, because Alabama's gonna be getting in front of a really good 11-1 SEC team, and they all want a gravy train in too. Right. The Big Ten wants it because they know that in most years a 12-0 or a 12-1 Ohio State's gonna be getting in. They want to be the second team of the Big Ten in, and I get all that. But if we're looking to have a playoff where we're looking honestly looking for the best team in the country to win a playoff, why are we letting a team that was most likely beat by the team get a second shot at that team and what we are going to want to call a playoff? That's not a playoff. You lost your chance to play in.
Yep.
I just don't get this whole idea. Well, we're the SEC's got 9 teams that should be in the playoff. Okay, great. The Big Ten, we have at least 5 teams that should be in the playoff.
And that's the problem with expanding the playoffs.
I mean, you know what that is?
Well,
that's ESPN and the guys that's part of the college football playoff committee, shaking each other's hands, scratching each other's back, because if you look at the regular season, the polls, we say the polls don't matter, but whenever the college football playoff polls come out, that's when it matters. Those polls matter, and those are controlled by human beings. What happens? They turn it into a catch-22. Okay, the SEC is the best conference, so any conference game is tougher than any other conference game. If they lose, then no shame. That was a tough loss. If they win, that's a great win. You just beat a great Mississippi State team. They're in the SEC. That's a great win. So they've created this catch-22 where the SEC can't lose, because a loss isn't that bad and a win is amazing.
I wonder if they say the same thing when they lose to Vanderbilt.
Well, yeah, I would say they would. Look at last year. Mississippi State, I think it was I could be wrong, but I think it was Mississippi State that beat Texas A&M or somebody. It might have been Arkansas. They beat somebody, and they got ranked up to number 18, and they were like they had 2 or 3 losses already. And then the next person that beat them knocked them out of the rankings, and they got ranked simply because they beat Mississippi State, who was ranked. It was utter nonsense.
Yeah,
how would y'all feel about 4 16-team conferences and 4 conference champions play a playoff for the Natty?
Say that again.
If we had 4 16-team conferences, which would be 64 teams, right, and the winners of each conference played a playoff for the national title, how would y'all feel about that?
As long as the division thing is done and over with, and and all the conference championships are between the 2 real best teams, 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
But Joey, under that, you're going to be cutting out, again, a lot of the Power 5 schools. The G5 schools. Under that category, you're basically going to wipe out the majority of the G5 schools. So I would have to think at 64, you're really just looking at the Power 5 and a couple other, and then Notre Dame and a couple other schools. And while I think that would be very clean and good, is it going to be good for the sport? That's the question. I think it'd be very advertising.
Well, it would force Notre Dame. It would force Notre Dame to.
Yeah, what happens to the teams left behind?
And then maybe it would force the group of 5 to start their own playoff system.
And they need to. I have been preaching that forever and ever and ever. There is no point to these group of 5 football players as far as why are they on that team? To win the conference and get to a crappy bowl? I mean, yeah, Cincinnati just made the playoffs, but it took like 3 years of resume building and going undefeated. Otherwise, these group of 5 teams literally have no shot of getting to the playoffs. It is past time for the group of 5s to create their own playoffs and national championship. And that doesn't mean that they stop playing the Power 5s. Just like, the Power 5s and the group of 5 still play the FCS. They can still schedule it, but have their own playoffs and national championship.
Why not the group of 5 just merge with the FCS and they can have their loose scholarship requirements, or the max is the FBS requirement. The minimum is 0, which the Pioneer League is doing, and then everyone has their own playoffs. The Power 5 has their playoffs, and there we have 2 college football national champions.
Yeah,
and you could have a massive March Madness playoff with the group of 5 FCS conglomerate of Division I.
I see what you're saying, but I do think that there is a gap between the FCS and the group of 5. Now, the cream of the crop of the FCS, like your North Dakota States, your Sam Houston States, all that, I'm sure, and they are going to make the jump into the group of 5. I'm sure they're going to be fine with that. But if you look at the FCS and the group of 5, I think there is a clear separation. Now, anybody can beat anybody on any given Saturday or whenever they play. But even in scholarships, there's a difference. There is a difference between the group of 5 and the FCS. Now, if they evened up the difference as far as scholarships and how much money all the teams got played, then absolutely merge them. But that would have to be fixed first.
Well, the FCS already has absolutely 0 parity because you would have North Dakota State and the Montana schools at the very top, and then whoever's left at the bottom. The parity will remain the same, but those top teams will be getting the TV time and the TV deals that I believe they deserve. They'll be playing against these top group of 5 teams, and it'll build every school from from the bottom up and kind of even things out.
Yeah, I can work with that. As long as everything gets evened out and they all get, the same payout from these conferences and all the scholarships are even across the board, yeah, I think it would be fine.
Well, the FCS doesn't have even scholarships because the top FCS conferences have the typical 63 plus FCS maximum scholarships, but then you have certain conferences that limit their scholarships because they can't afford them. Like the Pioneer League and the FCS, they're a bottom conference, but they're a non-scholarship league.
Yeah, all that would have to get figured out.
Yeah, the Ivy League doesn't offer scholarships, but they don't play in the FCS postseason. So it's
Man.
that's how the FCS is set up, and I could see it kind of being built in if they merge with the Group of Five.
Yeah, well, I would say if that happens, then those lower leagues that aren't up to the same standards, then they need to be bumped down to the level that's before them. I think it would be better for them. I think it would be better for the merger. I think it would be better all the way around.
I agree.
Because you don't want to make decisions that just benefits the good teams. You want to make decisions that benefit those lower teams as well. So, I don't think from what you're describing, those lower teams, I mean, they're not competitive. They don't have the same advantages, just like what we see in the Power Five to some extent.
Well, this is exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about. It's just on the FCS scale.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, I would bump those teams unless they can somehow make it even, which from what you're saying they can't. Then I would bump them down to the next level.
Yeah,
that's the only way.
That's just how it's been. They're able to play FCS football, but they don't offer scholarships for whatever reason. I mean, they still make the playoffs, and that's good for them. They get the TV time they deserve, but it's a thing that really needs to be addressed if this move is made in the future.
I completely understand that. So I'm working on this, shifting gears just a little bit. I'm working on this video. I want to talk about it, okay? What I'm working on, and this is going to be for tomorrow. I'm also going to put out that video that I talked about yesterday as far as the bad teams possibly making a bowl. So the polls, all right? The first coaches poll has come out, and the first AP poll has come out. And, of course, they are pretty much irrelevant. The polls don't really matter until the college football playoff polls come out. That's when it starts mattering. But I looked into it. I was like, just how irrelevant, are they even close? Is there something to it, or is it just completely irrelevant? Looking at last year, I didn't look at the years before. I'll look into that and see how it compares. But looking at last year, the preseason AP Top 25 is closer to being totally irrelevant than even being slightly relevant. What do I mean by that? Okay, well, the preseason AP Top 25 for last year, for 2021, was this, okay? Number 1 was Alabama. Alabama finished number 2 overall. They did get to the national championship, so that's fair. But Alabama's good every year. Number 2 was Oklahoma in the preseason. Oklahoma finished number 10. That's not too bad, but it is still a little off. Number 3 was Clemson. Clemson finished number 14. Again, it's off, but still sort of relevant. Number 4 was Ohio State. They finished 6th, so that was pretty close. Number 5 was Georgia. Of course, they finished number 1, national champs. Relevant. Number 6, Texas A&M. They finished 8-4, non-ranked, not relevant. Number 7, Iowa State. They finished 7-6, non-ranked, irrelevant. Number 8 was Cincinnati. They finished 4th. That's fine. Notre Dame, number 9 was Notre Dame. They finished 8th, so that was actually really close. Number 10, North Carolina. 6-7, not ranked, irrelevant. Number 10 was Oregon. They finished number 22, so sort of relevant. Here's where it gets really bad, though. Number 12 was Wisconsin. They finished 9-4, non-ranked, irrelevant. Number 13 was Florida, 6-7, non-ranked, irrelevant. Number 14 was Miami, 7-5, non-ranked, irrelevant. Number 15 was USC. They finished 4-8, non-ranked, irrelevant. Number 16, LSU, 6-7, non-ranked, irrelevant. Number 17, Indiana, 2-10, non-ranked, irrelevant. Here's a glimmer of hope. Number 18 was Iowa, and they finished number 23. But then back to the irrelevant.
Good.
Number 19, Penn State, 7-6, non-ranked.
Well,
irrelevant.
they didn't know about the Sean Clifford injury, to be fair, but
Yeah.
True, but still, number 20. Here's a great example. Number 20 was Washington, 4-8, non-ranked, irrelevant.
Lost to
Number
Montana.
21 was Texas. Texas fans, you got your hopes high. Well, last year you were preseason ranked number 21. You finished 5-7, non-ranked, irrelevant. 22 was Coastal Carolina, which they still had a good season, but they grabbed a couple of losses, so they were non-ranked, sort of irrelevant. 23 was Louisiana. They finished 16. They had a really good season, 13-1. Utah, the surprise team, they were 24th. They finished 10-4, and they finished number 12. And then finally, number 25, Arizona State finished 8-5, non-ranked, irrelevant. So out of 25 teams, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
That's more than half.
That is
the only reason Oklahoma was ever ranked so high is because the media was constantly riding Spencer Rattler to be this hero god that would save the Sooners and lead them to a national championship. Irrelevant.
So let's fast forward to the end of the season, okay? All the teams that finished ranked that were not ranked to start the year, okay? You ready? Number 25, San Diego State. Had a great season. They finished number 25. Number 24, Utah State, okay? Number 21, Arkansas started off the season non-ranked. Number 20, NC State started unranked. Number 19, BYU started non-ranked. Number 18, Kentucky, they finished non-ranked. Number 17, Houston, they started the season non-ranked. Number 15, Wake Forest, started the season non-ranked. Number 13, Pitt, started the season non-ranked. You're going to be floored at how high this goes. Number 11, Ole Miss, started the season non-ranked. Number 9, Michigan State, started the season non-ranked. Number 7, Oklahoma State, started the season non-ranked. Number 5, Baylor, started the season non-ranked. And finally, number 3, Michigan, started the season non-ranked.
I'm convinced the AP preseason poll is just reactionary to what happened last season.
That's exactly right. Because you really don't know what's going to happen during the season.
Out of every single one of these top 25 teams, which could start the season or could be ranked this season, I don't see Wake Forest going very far. I definitely don't see it going far. I mean, they very well could make it to 25 at the end of the season, but I don't think they're going to win I don't think they're going to win very many games.
Yeah,
I still think
it's
they're
going to have
picked
good
to win the
defense, but their offense is going to take a big step back this year.
The preseason rankings are basically a roster beauty pageant.
Yeah, popularity.
That's what it is. And so you guys talk about Ole Miss. You know, they got I forget the running back's name all the time from TCU. Evans. So I mean, they're looking for a missing piece. They add there. They get the hype of Jackson Dart coming in, and then boom, now you're a top 12 team. So I mean, it's just, it's this year's nothing new. That's why I said, I think it was last show or someone else's show, I can't remember. The only thing more worthless than a preseason poll is a verbal commitment. They both mean absolutely nothing.
It's true.
And most of the time, it's definitely wrong information. So, I mean, it's fun. It's fun. But that's what this college football is about, right? We're supposed to hear and have fun. It's the preseason. But overall, I mean, I don't think anyone that really gets worked up about a preseason poll, you got to reevaluate why you're getting so upset.
Oh, here's another one. Number 4, Clemson. I don't see them finishing in the top 15. I don't
know about that.
I don't think top 15, maybe top 20, like maybe around 16 or 17. But DJ Uiagalelei is not that good of a quarterback.
Okay, wait, hold on. First off, you got listen. Hold on. Okay, wait. Their defense alone will keep them in and around top 10 in the country. Period. The end of it. Exactly. DJ was injured last year. Their line was all mixed up with some injuries, etc. They had a young receiving core. They got a guy named Bo Collins that's going to show you guys, some of those great Clemson receivers we remember from the past. what we saw last year is not going to be this year, and this defense is better. And quite frankly, even recruiting, their defense isn't slow. I thought that they could hit when they lost Venables. Their defensive recruiting hasn't even taken a hit. So I wouldn't start burying Clemson anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let me get to these donations real quick. Hold on, Jerry. Let me get to these donations real quick. Chris Vickers, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, hi, Golden Bluted. Love your channel. As a WVU fan, would you want to join the ACC today, knowing you'd be stuck in grant of rights until 2036? Go Noles. That's an interesting question. If things don't get figured out with the grant of rights and the money stays the same, then I would say no. West Virginia going to the ACC is based on them opening up the negotiations for the TV deal and then possibly getting 8 teams to get those. You know, I don't know how the actual vote has to go. Like if it's just 8 teams that have to vote or 8 teams have to vote to dissolve, whatever needs to happen. The grant of rights is a big issue. Now, you can still bring in teams. They just have to sign the grant of rights. It's teams leaving that's a big deal with the grant of rights. David Bressler, thank you for the $10 donation, says, so D3 has 32 playoff teams. D2 has 28 playoff teams. D1, in my opinion, should have at least 16. I know it's about money. Do you think more games?
FCS is 24.
Yeah, equal more money for schools. Boomer Sooner, road to 15,000. I mean, I'm not against 16, but I don't think the argument would be what he's saying. I think you would need to incorporate bowls into 16. I think there needs to be some sort of reward if you're going to expand it to 12 or 16, like home playoff games for, the higher seeds and possible bye weeks for the higher seeds and conference champions. So as far as expanding the playoffs, I am not against expanding the playoffs. But we don't need to be talking about D3 and D2. They have way too many teams. Let them do what they do. We don't need to try to model our playoffs after their playoffs. But to your point, 16, I would be fine with 16, to be honest with you. I think that would give more parity to the playoffs. And that would be me accepting the inevitable. The argument that everybody gives is, well, eventually you know that it's going to be Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Clemson, the top 6 brands, whatever. That's going to be in the Final Four and the national championship. I have come to peace with that. It is what it is. But I'd like to see some better playoff games. And the argument, there's going to be more blowouts. We already see blowouts all the time in the playoffs and in the national championship. There's been a lot of blowouts in the national championship recently, so I don't buy that argument anymore.
Yeah, I just think it makes the regular season not.
I don't always agree that there won't be some upsets because, when you're talking about the 16th ranked team in the country, that's a pretty good team. And talk about 14th ranked team, that's an even better team. So I think there could be some upsets in a 16-team playoff. I think it would create some, just because a team is more talented. Let's say Alabama's more talented than Oklahoma State. But how do they match up? There might be some different key matchups there where Oklahoma State could pull out an upset. That's all I'm saying.
I can buy that. I mean, it's just like the NFL. There might be a bigger talent gap as far as that goes, but yeah, I can buy that. Tony, real quick, I see in the background, if you could turn your camera on and off so we can verify it's you, because we do have trolls pretending to be people that we know, and I don't want to, risk all that nonsense. So if you would just show yourself real quick, and we'll put you on. It looks like it's Tony Altimore. I just want to make sure 100%. Yep, it is. All right, you can turn your camera off if you want to, buddy.
Yeah.
He's here. And also, proper introduction for Shooter. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, congrats on the 10 grand, man. That's a big deal.
I wish I was making 10 grand.
Also, how do I meet
I'm
this
gonna-
troll that's pretending to be me?
Well, honestly, I don't think there is right now, but just in case, because we've had some very clever trolls.
I want to meet this troll.
It,
Will they do some work for me? Maybe answer a few tweets that I really would rather not answer.
might be. I think eventually we're going to have these trolls like buy, I don't know, bodysuits that look like people we know and, fool us, or buy those, those motion capture devices to where it looks like the person. I'm telling you that I think it'll get to that point eventually.
So I wanted to mention that today, Ohio State lost the top 100 top 100 running back in Evan Pryor, who was battling for second string for the backup, because Henderson is their starter, but Evan Pryor is out for the season with a knee injury. You think that could affect Ohio State anyway? I mean,
depth-wise, yes, especially when they go up against really tough opponents and they need a little bit of that depth to get over the hump. But as far as the majority of their games, probably not. I think without him, they're still definitely a 10-win team. But could hurt them, trying to get to the playoffs and the national championship.
I think not having to go down their depth chart. I'm assuming a school like Ohio State is going to have 3 and 4. They're going to have 4-star and 5-star running backs backing their second string up. So with all the firepower they have on offense, if they're going to lose a position, I mean, it's never great to lose a running back, because running back health can go quick, fast, depth wise. But I think Ohio State will be all right.
Better than losing.
Yeah, they have 4. They have 4 top 100 running backs.
That's
insane.
See, that's the problem with college football right there.
Wow. Yeah.
And all these other, lower brands can't grab one of those for a starter. Why go to Ohio State if you're going to be the 4th backup? I know eventually they're going to battle it out and probably enter the transfer portal, but it's just ridiculous. Honestly, it's annoying, to be honest with you.
I think your previous topic is the answer to that question. If you don't expand the playoffs, then Ohio State's one of the few that have a shot. That's why those guys are all going there. Right. But if you expand it out to 16 teams, one of the lower brands has a shot per time. Utah, for example. You might go to Utah as a running back instead of being 4th string or battling for 4th string as a 5-star.
So that could actually help with like spreading out recruiting. By expanding the playoffs. I didn't think about that.
Could pull it Deion Sanders.
That's actually pretty good.
Bring some 4 or 5 stars to an FCS program.
Yeah. I honestly did not see that coming, but hindsight 2020 probably should have.
But you know how it is. Teams that make the playoffs, I mean, they got those players who were seniors have a lot better shot of making an upper round draft pick just by showing up, even if to get blown out. But hey, they made it. Like Cincinnati. Look at Cincinnati last year. A bunch of guys got recruited that 2 years ago would they have been recruited in the top rounds? I don't know, maybe, but not that many of them. But because they made the playoffs, they got drafted. And I mean,
they also got coached.
I think it's the other way around, though. They made the playoffs because of those recruits, which proves that point. But I get what you're saying. Same thing with Georgia. Like, there was no, in my opinion, and I mean serious, there was no way that Georgia could not lose the playoffs. I mean, for the national championship. I mean, Kirby Smart would have had to have just coached an all-time bad game for Georgia to not win the national championship. That's how good their defense was. And that's why whenever I look at the SEC championship, I'm like, something was not right about that game. Because there is no way on God's green earth that bad Alabama offensive line could protect, the quarterback from the best defensive line in the nation, who got in the backfield quicker than anybody.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense.
What were you going to say, Notre Dame, dude?
Well, I mean, I think Marcus Freeman is also a very good coach, and he was at Cincinnati before he was at Notre Dame, and he coached all these guys. Like, these guys were all seniors this past year, and they're all coached by Marcus Freeman there.
Yeah. Coaching makes
3 years. And, Coach Freeman's a great defensive coach.
Good coaching is just as important, if not more important, than the talent, because in a program, I mean, honestly, you look at UT. I mean, they get 5-star guys, and they can't seem to develop anybody and get them up to their potential. And then you got these other places like Cincinnati. Honestly, Cincinnati's a great example. They got those guys playing 100 to 110% of their potential. I mean, and putting it on the field. And that, I think, coaching is a huge deal. So,
Shooter, you just explained, you just answered the question that GBD just asked. How did Alabama do it? Great coaching, great game plan, and really showed them up in that championship game. Kirby probably sees that, makes some adjustments, and then we saw what we saw.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, Saban's kind of proven his coaching ability, hasn't he? Yeah. I mean,
does that mean that the players for Georgia were not as mentally tough as we thought, because the
it just means
talent discrepancy was ridiculous from defense to defense? I just didn't understand how I can't rationalize how Alabama blew out Georgia. It doesn't make any sense.
I always laugh when people talk about toughness in college football, because anybody play even high school football and the beating you take just playing that. Never ever question the toughness of a college football player, especially linemen, because
responding to adversity.
Oh, mental toughness. Well, I mean, I think it really comes down to it just came down to a game plan. I think. I mean, I didn't break it down that much, but to see that much of a difference, I would have to think for Alabama to really show them up like that, it had to be something they saw. And they went with it, and it looks like, again, good coaching. Georgia came back, made the adjustments, and then we had the championship game. That's my guess. I'm just assuming, knowing the quality of both coaching staffs.
A lot of people think
I think Georgia went into that game thinking, "Oh, this was going to be easy," and then Alabama tore into them, and then the roles reversed into the national championship because Alabama already beat them. So they're like, "Oh, this is going to be easy. We're going to beat them a second time," and that obviously didn't happen.
You really think that any team in the past 12 years has walked in against Alabama saying this is going to be easy?
Well, Alabama already had a loss, and Georgia.
If anything, I would think it would be the opposite. They would go in mentally beaten before they even play. Like, we've never beaten Alabama. Yes, this is the best team we've ever had, but I'm just not sure. And if it came down to a mental thing, I would think it would be more down that road.
I have a question for Tony if he's here. Tony, are you in here?
Yeah, he's in here.
Yeah, there he is. Okay. So
sorry, I've been sick today, so I'm like a little under the weather.
Oh, okay. Sorry, feel bad.
Get well, buddy.
A lot of people.
It's not COVID. I took a test. Sorry. What?
A lot of people in other rooms, other chat rooms, and in this chat room at times have talked about how they feel like the Big 12 wants to destroy the Pac-12, the Pac-12 wants to destroy the Big 12. But I think the key to destroying the Pac-12 would be for the Big 12 to invite Cal in. But that's not happening. So am I to take from that
Cal,
there's no way
nobody listens to me. Cal and San Diego State are full the gap.
Yeah, so
I can tell you guys about this. It's a whole other division.
So am I to take from that and believe that there's no way the Big 12 is trying to destroy the Pac-12 since they're not even trying to get Cal?
So I don't think the actual Big 12 is trying to destroy the actual Pac-12. I think there's a lot of really angry, grumpy, raging fans. And this is not all of them, because I have so many amazing friends from Iowa State and Texas Tech. But you guys have some unhinged loony bins that are really, really raging, and I think have a lot of PTSD and unmitigated anger stemming from what happened last year. The actual Pac-12 literally pays very little attention to what happens east of the 5 freeway. Totally true. New York people need to tell you that they are better than you. California people are just perfectly happy in their sunshine. You really don't bother them. And it's kind of a difference that I think people don't necessarily appreciate. But yeah, Joey, no, you're totally right, because the Pac-12, they're trying to survive. And as long as they hold on to Washington, Oregon, and something in the Bay Area, they'll be fine. I think they could lose Stanford and still be fine.
This is exactly why I made the video that I made today.
That was a great video, by the way.
I appreciate that. I really thought that it was a tactical decision for ESPN to pull out of Big Ten negotiations. I know it's on the outside. That's like, oh man, they're not going to show any Big Ten games. That sucks, and it does for us. But for ESPN, they have the SEC, so they're going to be fine. So the reason I think that it's a tactical decision is so they're pulling out of the Big Ten. That actually frees up a lot of money, a lot. Well, the SEC knows that the Big Ten is going to be fine. No problem. So why try to attack them in any sort of way, right? So whenever you try to take down an opponent, you attack their what? You attack their weakness. So this is ESPN versus Fox, right? Strength for ESPN is the SEC. Strength for Fox is the Big Ten. Well, ESPN also has the majority TV rights of the ACC and the Pac-12. So that's their secondary. That's their lower conferences. For Fox, it's the Big 12. So if you look at numbers, ESPN actually has the numbers. And so that's the reason why I made the video that I made. And it also answers a lot of questions that I have. Like, we heard a lot of rumors that Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, even Cal and Stanford at one time were interested in joining the Big 12. And, you know, Brett Gormark announced that the Big 12 was open for business. I really believe that any of those 6 teams would be welcomed with open arms into the Big 12. And those teams, as long as all 6 of them don't go at the same time, would make more money in the Big 12. So that makes me believe it might not be true.
Maybe yes or maybe no. So we got some interesting data on that a little bit today in the UC Regents meeting. But also the numbers. And by the way, let me just stress, by the way, when I'm talking about the crazy Big 12 fans, I'm not talking about West Virginia, because like your fans have should have very little animosity towards, like, you know, Oregon or Stanford or Arizona. Right.
It's more like Pitt, Virginia Tech, you know.
Yeah, you guys have your own people. This is part of the reason I love West Virginia. You guys are like a Big East blue blood, like currently in the Big 12.
Right.
Yeah. But it's completely true. In fact, so Ross Dellinger today retweeted out the fan base study, which we've done a whole bunch of times. The one that shows like that you guys have the biggest fan base in the Big 12. Yeah. And so I've been getting all these like rage tweets from Iowa State and everything. But the West Virginia folks, they all look at it and they're like, okay, sounds about right. Okay, good. But it's true. But what I would say on that, one thing to think about is like the networks want the conferences to be strong. And the other thing is for these schools, remember, it's not just about the sports. So, for example, Arizona and Arizona State get most of their students from California, or not most, but an enormous number of their students from California. Their alumni graduate, and then they go work in Southern California. So for them, they want to play games on the West Coast that their fans go to. They don't want to play in Ames. You know, you guys are awesome, right? But like, how many Arizona State alumni are in Morgantown or Pittsburgh?
Right. Would they be okay with Texas Tech?
Yeah, they'd probably rather not, but there's the thing about Lubbock is Lubbock's not a place that your alumni want to go. This is why George Kliakoff talked remember, it's not just about like fans. You guys, we think about ourselves. We think about fans in the upper deck. When they talk about the importance of playing in front of fans, they really, really care about the skyboxes and the club seats and the front seats. The upper decks are kind of irrelevant. That's why George Kliakoff in the Pac-12 media days talked about it, and we actually talked about this, I think, on your show and on Mark Rogers, about playing neutral games at SoFi. You know, we might see Arizona State versus Oregon at SoFi, so that like they get a chance to be in LA. That's why I think San Diego State is so important for them to add. There's really a lot. It's you. I mean, you guys have the same thing. You guys hate going to Ames and Lubbock. I mean, great schools, great teams, great games, because none of your fans are there. You guys want to play in Charlotte and in Pittsburgh and in Virginia and in DC. You want to play Maryland because
you're literally describing why West Virginia doesn't fit in the Big 12. You're describing it right now.
Your fans want to play there, which is the same reason that Arizona State people want to play in LA. So it's not a rip on the Big 12. Nobody's ripping on the Big 12. It's like, hey guys, our whole world focuses here on this. The other thing is Arizona State used to be a really crappy school.
Yes.
Arizona State was viewed as a terribly so crappy that Washington and Stanford played brinksmanship that almost blew up the Pac-12, saying, we don't want Arizona State. We don't think they're worthy.
Facts.
And Arizona State joined the Pac-12, and they rode the conference and the prestige and putting those things together into making themselves. Arizona State's a really good school.
That's
Arizona State
they have good academics now.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Wait, Tony. Wait. They're like 89% admissions rate, man.
Yeah, but I think they're ranked like they're ranked 105 or whatever. They'd be like the fourth best ranked school in the Big 12 or something like that. Maybe the sixth.
Not quite. Not quite. They're
not elite, but they're decent.
What are they? I think they're within the top 110. I think, aren't they right around like 105 in USD's rankings?
I think they're in the lower 100s somewhere.
No, they're in like 105.
Yeah.
They put them in the bottom half at best because they're actually behind Tech, which is amazing to me. I had to go look it up.
They have come a long way.
Is actually
a decent
academic
That's the narrative.
Yeah, I don't think they're behind Tech. I could double check. I know they're not actually, but because in the Big 12, Baylor or BYU are 1, TCU 2, or TCU 3, and then there's a little bit of a gap.
Surprisingly,
Kansas is up. Kansas is like 125, I think, something like that. I'd have to look up. They changed.
Yeah, Kansas.
But I mean, they're still really good. But they rode that into success, and they rode that into success partnering with Berkeley and Stanford and U of A and UW and all that. So, it's just a different. Again, the same thing. It's like Houston. People talk about Houston would have been great for the Pac-12, but you know what's better for Houston? It's better for Houston to take their seat next to everybody in Texas that they belong with, sitting there next to Baylor and TCU and Texas Tech. Like, I would love to, as a Pac-12 fan, I would love to have Houston in the Pac-12, but it makes more sense for them to be in the Big 12. And I'm excited for them. They waited a long time for that. Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, Tony, the Big 12 took Houston specifically because it was a defensive move. They didn't want the Pac-12 in the state of Texas with Houston, and they knew that either Houston or ACC was looking at Pac-12 or ACC was looking at Houston. So that was a defensive move. I didn't like it, but now I understand why. Because they would probably grab SMU and Houston just to have two teams in Texas.
Well, and President Couture, who's amazing, is doing the same stuff at Houston that Michael Crow did for Arizona State. Really? And that John Paul Schaefer did for Arizona, and being like, okay, how do we take this school that was not as academically prestigious and turn it into a great institution? Well, not only that, but she also paints. Like, how cool is that?
Just so you'll know, I am looking up academic ratings right now, so carry on.
I can pull them up. I got them all.
And one real quick point I wanted to make. GBD was talking about how ESPN's going to have like $300 million something because they backed out of the Big Ten. That's the number supposedly that they said was too high. It doesn't mean they have that money to spend. It literally just means they didn't want to spend that money. So we can't say, oh, ESPN's got $300 million in the bank. No, they just said we're not buying that for $300 million.
Wait a minute. Do we have someone on here who understands business? You're not allowed to be a football fan if you do that. You're not allowed to have football business discussions if you actually understand business. I'm sorry, Shooter. You're done. Where's the gun?
Too many numbers.
I was going by what I saw on social media.
No, you are 100% right on that. Because the other piece of that, guys, is remember they're making valuations based on like what they can sell in terms of revenue and stuff. And so like that might not, they might be like, yeah, you know what, we can make X amount of dollars off the Big Ten. We can make a little less off the Pac-12 because there's not as many people watching.
Well, talking about academic ratings, that was actually another reason why, especially when I looked it up, it blew me away why the Pac-12 turned down BYU. And I understand it was because of the whole Sunday thing and, attached to religious. And there is a little bit more of a liberal tilt to the Pac-12 because BYU is actually number 79 in the United States as far as academic rankings. That blew me away. I thought they were top 200 for sure, maybe top 150. Top 100, that was stretching it in my mind. So
BYU is
I really think that hurt the Pac-12 too, because the way I'm looking at it right now, okay, so if things still happened the way that they happened, and USC and UCLA still go to the Big Ten, no matter what, you can't change that. If you take BYU out of the Big 12 and put them in the Pac-12, I think the Pac-12 is in a much better situation. Yes, because of one school, because it's helping the Pac-12 football, academics, everything that goes with it. They're not just a national brand, they're an international brand. I know they represent a religion. I get that. And you're also hurting the Big 12, who is one of your competitors. So I still can't rationalize why they turned them down. And I understand you have Utah, so you have the Utah market, but there's a big fan base for BYU. And
do you want to have the BYU conversation?
Yes.
You want to have the actual BYU conversation?
We can have it.
Okay, we might have to have it. They'll crucify me for this. First of all, let me just quick give you academic ranks. Arizona State is 103 in U.S. News, 214 in Wall Street Journal. Texas Tech is Wall Street Journal has more schools in it. That's why it's higher. Texas Tech is 217 and 451.
Whoa, I was looking at U.S. News.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. That is U.S. News and World Report. 217.
Wow. I must have been looking at the different. Okay. Well,
217.
I'm getting
and 451 in Wall Street Journal. So Arizona State is, what did we say, 10 whatever.
They're 117 in U.S. News, and Arizona's 104. But that's close.
I may have. You know what? I may have just quickly. I'm looking at a huge spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think you looked at Arizona, but Arizona State 117. That's still really good.
I'm probably getting my farm schools confused because we got the sand farmers over there.
That's the same as South Carolina.
And then we got the corn farmers up in Iowa State.
Well, and the other thing, by the way, in academic rankings, so one of the issues is like whether you're a research school or not.
Yeah.
So like Baylor's a great example. Baylor didn't used to be, but is rapidly moving into doing great stuff, which is why Baylor just got their R1 status for the great new research. That is like Dr. Livingstone doing awesome things. SMU's following not far behind. Like they're probably going to get that next year or so. San Diego State, for example, is a school that San Diego State has by like several percentile, the most elite academic admissions rate, more elite than any school in the Big 12. But for example, San Diego State, because of how the California structure is built, they actually don't issue PhDs. So they don't do a lot of the graduate research. So they get dinged in the academic thing because it's like, how's your research? Oh, it's kind of crappy. Why? Because you don't do that. You know, it's just like West Virginia. West Virginia gets dinged because you guys have very flexible admissions. You guys have world-class programs.
We also don't have those affiliate universities that we can send those lower academics to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you balance all that out. And so, you know, schools like Baylor and San Diego State that, you know, TCU is another one, just doesn't do a lot of graduate research in undergrad school. Notre Dame. The reason Notre Dame's not in the AAU is because Notre Dame's not really, it's a mostly undergrad school. Wake Forest, same thing.
I thought it was because they suck.
We don't need to be in the AAU. We're Notre Dame.
That too.
Exactly. But I mean, this is why I tell everybody, take all of this stuff with a grain of salt and instead of looking at one number, look at 30 numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, hey, you know what? But the most important thing that I also want to say is in all the research I've done in realignment stuff, wait, can I swear in here? There are no shitty schools in the P5.
Yeah, say that.
Not one. The lowest ranked school in the P5, when you look at most of the metrics, is Mississippi State, and Mississippi State is actually a great institution. So when we're looking at the P5 schools and we're comparing them and we're like, oh, you're number 400, you're number 2, you know, whatever. There are no crappy schools in the P5. And I think that is something that we really have to make sure everybody knows. Every school in the P5 is a great school.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's not me like kissing up. That's backed by numbers.
What rank did you say Texas Tech was?
200 something.
Like 2 something, 4 something.
That's what I thought. That would be the one school that wouldn't fit quite academically because Iowa State and Kansas are both at 122.
But remember, Texas Tech 217.
Wow.
To your credit, San Diego State 148, so they would fit in perfectly, and Kansas State is at 162.
But let's also remember that Texas Tech was twice offered admission to the Pac-12.
But if we're going academically, out of all the schools that I listed today in my video, Texas Tech would be the one.
Circumstances get changey. As long as Texas Tech had their like orange wearing, like weird, like obnoxious best friend next to them, you know, they definitely were going to get to be a +1. So that's why I tell my Pac-12 friends, I'm like, don't get snotty on Texas Tech because we invited them to the party twice.
Were they the ones that were invited with Texas the last go around? Because I know Texas was invited too.
Yeah, they were invited with Texas twice.
Well, Texas said they wouldn't go without OU, and then Texas turned around and made a better deal, getting the unfair or the unequal share out of the Pac-12. So they got more money out of the Pac-12. They got permission to do the Longhorn Network, and so yeah.
Well, the other big problem they had is that with the Pac-12, and if you guys get a chance, read the oral history. It's public. It's on the 247 site. I think I have a link on my Twitter. If anybody wants, just message me and I can send you a link. The oral history of like Utah joining the Pac-12 is fascinating because the president of Utah, who then became president of A&M, like saw this happening and he was like, "Oh, guys, Texas, this is never going to happen." And Larry Scott was like, "Oh yeah, we've got." And he was like, "No, because Texas is going to want all this stuff, and then USC and UCLA are going to be like, if they get that, we get that, and you're not going to be able to give them that."
Well, I saw a comment in the comment section.
You're totally right.
Asking what does academics have to do with it? Well, it's getting to
everything.
Where it really doesn't as much. But if you look at how the conferences were formed, it had especially the Pac-12 and the ACC. That was one of the reasons.
What's the budget? What's the budget of UCLA?
Virginia, but they still took Louisville. That blew my mind. Like Louisville was around the same ranking as West Virginia, but that excuse kept getting used over, and we left out West Virginia because of academic rankings. No, you did not. That's a stupid excuse. It is false. The reason West Virginia got left out was because the North Carolina schools blackballed them, and Maryland was the leading university carrying the flag against anti-West Virginia, and now that Maryland is out of the ACC, that's why it is more possible for West Virginia to get
Can I give you guys a way to think about it?
The ACC only benefits the conference.
You guys, here's a way to think about it. If a university is a Walmart, okay, the sports program is the lens crafters that's like up in that front corner by the checkout desks. Okay, that's now granted it's all about branding and all that, but like when the presidents are looking at the university as a whole, budget wise, you know, the sports program is the lens crafters in the front corner, and the university is the rest of Walmart. Right. The chancellor of UCLA, all this discussion about UCLA sports today. UCLA sports has what, $150 million budget? UCLA is a $5 billion budget. They're running one of the biggest healthcare systems in California. The dude is literally CEO of a giant healthcare system. And we're arguing right now about the $9 million in lost media revenue. UCLA farts $9 million and they can't see it. So, like, keep that. You guys have to keep that in perspective. I don't know if you guys saw, by the way, the hysterical Regents report today. They blamed USC. It was great.
What?
Didn't you hear about this?
For what?
For everything. It's hysterical. They're like, basically, you guys should read the Regents report. Read through so you get towards the end and then read between the lines. Well, actually, not like between the lines. They literally have USC's bowl record in the footnotes. Because they're like, well, USC was going to leave, and they were taking all the value, so we just went along too. We're not really important.
John Waffle HGP,
Great.
Thank you for the $1.99 donation. Says WU is ranked number 249. Yes, academics matter. Tony, please repeat what you said earlier about Mississippi State and the rankings.
Let me answer John Waffle here real quick. John Waffle, would you please tell me how many Rhodes Scholars Pittsburgh has, and then how many West Virginia has?
West Virginia has more.
Yeah.
And John Waffle, you got to do more than $1.99 to talk shit like that.
We
that should have at least been
explain to him why, because of how many the high percentage of acceptance at West Virginia, and we don't have the lower the affiliated branches to send those. How many does Pitt have? They have like 5 universities around the city to where they could, if they wanted to, they could ship those lower academics.
John Waffle, we expect a little more artistry in that. If you're going to make that kind of comment, your super chat needs to be for like $24.90.
He likes
like, show a little artistry in there. Come on.
I appreciate it.
At least $2.49. At least $2.49. 249. Let's go.
I got to run.
It's called a cheap shot for a reason. It's cheap.
Hey, Sikkim, your team's going to be good this year, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say one last thing. I got to run, but just for Will, I agree with you. We don't need that AAU stuff. We got Jesus. We're fine.
Oh, you guys are going to get it. You guys are going to get it. Well, I was joking earlier with somebody earlier, by the way. I said, I just envisioned, like, as everything got really desperate, when the Pac-12 was really at its sort of low moments, I said, I just envisioned this really quiet meeting where Dr. Livingstone and Dr. Couture call up Cal, and they were like, so, we hear you're losing all your money. Funny enough, tell us about our AAU application. Maybe we can help.
What? Can you explain to me why that has been such an important banner for the Big Ten? I'm not understanding. Okay, by the way, John Waffle, the reason why I brought up the Louisville thing is they're 187. 187. So Louisville doesn't have great academics as well. So the argument for West Virginia and low academics was stupid. Anyways, can you explain the AAU thing? I've never understood that. I know how they get it and the criteria, but I didn't understand why it was important for the Big Ten, why it may still be important for the Big Ten.
So the Big Ten is really big. I remember when you join the Big Ten, you don't just join the Big Ten. In fact, the sports are dollar-wise a tiny piece of joining the Big Ten. So, for example, the Big Ten, when you join the Big Ten, this is why it's awesome for USC and UCLA. You integrate all of your libraries into the Big Ten. You integrate all of your IT development, your cybersecurity, your records.
It's like a giant depository.
What?
You get
it's like a giant depository.
Yeah, all of your your research stuff starts getting integrated. You help hire each other's professors. All of this stuff. So when they look at somebody in the Big Ten, they're like, "Do we want to hire your kids to teach at our place? And do we want you to hire our kids?
Wow.
Do we want your libraries inside our system?" So, I mean, the University of Maryland, you guys, Maryland is like a research megaship. Maryland is 3.5. No, that's Hopkins is 3.5. Maryland is something like that. It's pretty close. I think it's like $2 or $3 billion of research. Most of these schools are doing like 50. Baylor, who's doing awesome, is doing like 50. And
that's a big gap.
Yeah, versus 3 billion, 50 million versus 3 billion. Yeah, so that's why Maryland, they're like, hello, Maryland. Like, we want to be a part of you because that's what they do. Again, it's almost like if you were to imagine, like, Walmart buying Target, right? Like, Walmart's like, who do we want to buy? We want to buy Target. Again, they're not letting the lens crafters in the corner decide the direction of the whole store, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
And the other thing is the AAU, that's like their sort of like club of like who they're around, who they associate with. And remember, a lot of these presidents want to get each other's jobs. So like the president of Oregon just went to Northwestern. The president of USC used to be the president of North Carolina. So like when you look at like, how do I get my next job? Like you want to be at another school. You want to be schmoozing with them. You want to be the one they want to hire.
Is there any other conference that does something similar?
Look at you guys. Your president is more connected than anybody in the world. That's why you guys are a weird case. You guys are a weird case in everything because you are a Big East blue blood stuck in the Big 12 who is in charge of educating the people of Appalachia. So like I always feel like whenever I talk about West Virginia, like none of the all your statistics get like a big asterisk that ends in an L in Morgantown for whoever shows up there.
Well, let me ask you this, Tony. Is there any other conference that's similar as far as how they operate like the Big Ten?
Well, this is the awkward part. Because there were two conferences that have been best friends forever, like literally best friends forever, and that is the Pac-12 and the Big Ten.
Right. The Rose Bowl.
In fact, they've forever done like all sorts. I mean, we're talking going back 70 years. Done like weird things to help each other out when they needed it institutionally. They've been I said probably 3 years ago, I actually wrote up a whole thing on this about why I actually thought the Big 12 and the Pac-12 or the Big 10 and the Pac-12 should merge and like do unequal revenue, whatever they would need to do. But I thought that they like belong together as institutions. And
and that's why a lot of people thought that the what was it called? I can't even think of it. Whenever the Alliance. They thought they were going to be best buds because they thought similar.
They do think similar.
And the Big Ten, were best buddies, and then of course the ACC is similar. And then people were shocked. the Big Ten went out and got USC and UCLA. Yeah, because even though they think similar, they're still separate conferences.
Yeah, here's the example of that though. Like, say you have your best friend, and he's like really awesome. Like, you're pretty cool, but he's fucking awesome, right? He's your best friend, and you're cool, but he's just like the fucking man. And then your girlfriend leaves you for him. Like, that's kind of what happened in the Pac-12. So it's like a little bit awkward because like you really like him and he's your best friend, and like, but you're mad at him, but actually like she's the one who left you.
Right.
Like, it's a riot for me. People are so mad at the Big Ten. I'm like, oh, USC and UCLA did this. It's just like the SEC. People are all mad at Greg Sankey. Texas did this. Like, I'm sorry, guys, and because the institution I love is guilty as charged.
Tim, I think Tony just called USC hot.
Ooh.
I think that ESPN and Fox did this, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, that is also very true. Well, they were the ones with the money. They're the ones with the money for you to do it.
By the way, this directly correlates with what we've been saying. Thank you, Denver Snyder, for the $4.99 donation. Says academics didn't matter when the ACC invited Louisville. That's what I've been saying. They were at the time ranked lower than West Virginia, but it matters now. That's what I've been saying. Like, if academics truly mattered to the ACC like that, then they shouldn't have accepted Louisville. Like, that's the one thing that throws that completely off. If they would have never accepted Louisville, then I'd be like, yep, they were right. The ACC academics matter.
Yeah, imagine how high academically West Virginia would be now.
The what?
Imagine how high West Virginia would be in academics if they were in the ACC right now.
Yeah, that would have helped as well.
It'd probably be a little higher. But remember, what's dinging West Virginia on those metrics is mostly about admissions and stuff like that. It's not
too nice. They're too nice.
Because they're tasked. And this is the thing, guys. West Virginia University's mission is to educate the people of Appalachia and take that state that needs help and pump and be its engine of education and economic growth. And that's freaking noble.
Realignment.
It is.
That's noble. Now, and by the way, that's the way the California schools were set up is in a lot of the same way. The difference is that's how they set it up with the UC schools to be the big snooty part and the Cal State schools to be the mission of educating the people. And it's
this whole Pac-12 thing is like the Big Ten's. It's like the Big Ten stealing the Pac-12's girl, man.
It is.
You see this girl, you're like, man,
it's the Pac-12 girl leaving and then going to the Big Ten, and the Big Ten being like, dude, I'm sorry, but like,
yeah,
I like her a lot.
She's hot.
Yeah.
She's hot.
And besides,
she's really hot.
I mean, if Berkeley is so desperate to play UC school, then they can go hang out with UC Davis in the Big Sky.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is when we talk about AAU schools, there are 5 UC AAU schools that don't play football.
Santa Cruz, Davis. I'm pretty sure there's a few more.
Santa Barbara, San Diego.
Santa Barbara.
By the way, USC
Irvine.
Junior is an acceptable answer for South Carolina. That's acceptable.
USC Junior is you know what? No, we don't even like that because we won the trademark case.
Oh, okay.
There's no USC for them.
None for you.
I'm just teasing, guys. And by the way, I have a lot of great friends who went to South Carolina.
Yeah, I have to live in the state, so I got to watch my back whenever it comes to that. And I made a video and I said USC Junior several times. They did not like that at all. Oh, John Waffle H2P bumping it up. $4.99 donation says if WVU had a 80% graduation rate, they would be 170. That's all I'll say. Ooh, Tony's on it.
Okay, so it was.
I'm sorry, guys. I just got a radio request to go and talk about Syracuse football
and Santa Cruz, along with UCLA. So that's 6.
6 what?
6 UC schools that are part of the AAU.
7.
Oh,
dang.
Oh, yeah.
There's 7 in the AAU.
Stanford is too, aren't they? Stanford.
Yes, plus Stanford, plus USC, plus Caltech.
Yeah, Caltech counts.
So there's 7 UC, so 10 in California. which is crazy.
California's
Wow,
stacked.
That's
It's a big state. There's a ton of people. So, and Caltech's a crazy, crazy school. I mean, Caltech, they're literally building the Mars rover.
Yeah.
Like those
guys, I gotta
people
wrap this up. Gotta wake up early and get the kids to school. They're headed to bed. But we'll be back tomorrow live. And as usual, before we get out of here, I give all of my guests their shot at their last word. Tony, you jumped on last, so I'm gonna defer to you first. So
my last word is to you, GBD. You got 10,000 subscribers because you work your ass off and you make videos. Some of them are batshit crazy. Some of them are really funny. A lot of them are also really insightful, and they're all a lot of fun. And you work your butt off for it, and you get all of the kudos. Way to go, dude.
I just have one question for you. Ready?
What? I already subscribed.
Were you not entertained?
I'm always entertained. I love your stuff.
There you go. If the answer to that question is yes, then I've done my job today.
You have done your job.
There you go. All right, Tony. Appreciate you. Stop by more often, right, buddy?
Country roads. We'll see you guys.
All right, buddy. TND.
I'm meaning to say this, but congrats on 10K Golden Blue, dude. Let's pray you get to 11K before kickoff, and go Mountaineers, and go everyone else. I'll see you on the next one.
All right, buddy. Good job. Let's see. Will, the Notre Dame fan, what is your last word, sir?
Man, these Shorthorn fans, they were really talking up Quinn Ewers on Twitter, man. Like a couple weeks ago, they were like, "Oh, we're back, man. We're back. We're back." And now they got Hudson Card. He's the quarterback now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and man, that Fayetteville PTSD is coming back, man. That Fayetteville PTSD, man. That nine Fayetteville wasn't too kind for the Shorthorns.
Honestly, I think Texas would be like a seriously decent threat this year had they been able to retain Casey Thompson.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, when you look at Twitter, it's like a graveyard, man. It's like crazy what these Texas fans are now.
Yeah, it's buried. It's done. Good job. Come back, see us more, all right, buddy?
All right, I'll see you tomorrow, man.
See you, man. Tim, what is your last word of this evening?
Well, I just want to say, Will, I won't be able to protect you from D4 later, so you better just, you better look over your shoulder. You keep talking about Texas that way. And they got a top, it's not like they're going to fall off the planet. They got like a top 50, I think, recruit as their quarterback. So anyone writing the obituary for Texas is probably maybe a bit premature. I just remembered, actually, I'm going to be doing a post-game show on Mark Rogers' USC channel for the USC games. And it's going to be with Tony, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of familiar faces in there. So if anybody wants to come over and watch that, we'd love to have you.
Send me the link for the first show.
I will. I'll see you guys.
Awesome. Good job, buddy. And then last but certainly not least, the guy behind the guy. Wait. The guy behind the scenes. Let's correct that. The guy behind the scenes.
Let's just say it like that.
The guy behind the scenes. Right. That did not come out right. Joey Foster.
14 days, 22 hours, 22 minutes, and 30 seconds. And we are going to be playing the Backyard Brawl again. And all I can say is, John Waffle, H2P, you and Talcus Pitt can sit over there and cry together after we beat the ass. So once again, we had some great super chats tonight. Everyone's entered in super chat tonight into winning.
Hold on before you go any further. Hold on before you go any further. What if John Waffle H2P wins the trail cam? Man,
well, he's got a good chance. He super chats a lot. He's got a great chance of doing it. So I wish everybody luck. And then if you buy anything from the merchandise store, and we have a good sale going on right now, look for GBD Nation clothing. So if you go to the store, just look for anything that says GBD Nation. If you buy a hat, T-shirt, and a coffee mug that say GBD Nation, they're all reduced price, and you'll see that they're reduced a lot. And plus, you get an extra 10% off when you buy all three of them. So nice. And you just got to use code 10K. It's for 10,000 subscribers. So just use the code 10K when you check out.
Just to be clear, the code is not the guy behind the guy, right? That's not the code.
Right. And hey, and special shout out to Traveling Pools for donating their items we're giving away this month. Everyone, be
Yeah.
sure and sub him up. He just
Great
got
channel over there.
monetized, and it is an excellent channel. He went live last night, and I wish I'd have been up and watching for him to go live. I'd like to go in there, but anyway, he he's a good guy. You guys need to sub him up and check out his channel. So, all right,
Very good.
GBD, great show, man.
Good job,
See
buddy.
you later.
We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, buddy. All right, time to wrap up, guys. As usual, I appreciate everybody stopping by, everybody that watched, everybody that comments. It does help the video tremendously. Don't forget, on the way out, hit the like button. Even if you didn't like the video, it helps grow the video. Hits the YouTube algorithm more, gets suggested more people see it, and boom, you get more views. So on the way out, please hit the like button, even though it won't be live anymore. Special shout out to all those that joined the StreamYard and everybody that super chat. Yes, even you, John Waffle, H2P. We appreciate your donations as well. So that's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, but I have no idea when. So if you're a subscriber, viewer, Golden Bluetooth, make sure to hit the notifications because I never know when I'm going to go live. I have a crazy schedule. In fact, I don't have a schedule. I fit my lives wherever I can. And if you're not a subscriber of Golden Bluetooth, what are you waiting on? The college football season getting closer and closer. You want to stay on top of this season. So hit the subscribe button and onward and upward to 20,000. We're already well past 10,000. So now we are marching our way to 20,000. I think we will be there very, very quickly. And it's all thanks to people like you. There would be no Golden Bluetooth without people like you supporting the channel. So we salute you. We appreciate it. That's all for tonight, but we will see you once again tomorrow.